This is Aubrey Logan, and you are listening to Recess with Spinelli.
I got my Jimmy Chooses dirty, and I can't really see. You got me crying on the airplane.
You were tuned in to Recess with Spinelli here on WSPN 91.1 FM, Skidmore College Radio. And we are here in San Diego, California at the Martinis Above 4th with Ms. Aubrey Logan, a trombonist who has been described as the Queen of Sass. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Now, between your title, The Queen of Sass, and tonight's title for the show, which is a very sassy Christmas, I'm starting to see a theme.
Yeah, you're starting to see a theme. So this theme happened, I believe it began when I was in London one time, and I was doing an interview much like this. And one of these, I'm not even going to attempt the British accent, not going to do it, but he did, I think I was throwing out some jokes in the interview, or he was talking about some of the songs that I had written. I think Pistol was one of them, and he said something like, "You're very sassy, aren't you?" And I agreed. I had no evidence to the contrary. And he said, you're really the queen of sass. And it stuck. It just stuck. So, but yeah, I've been known to go a little off script on my shows and write a few defiant lyrics, but they're all very positive and hopeful. But yes, this is the Sassy Christmas Tour, indeed. You know, and I think Christmas music is very cheesy and very annoying, so why not make fun of it in the show?
Now, actually, so for sass, in the typical art question, art inspires life, or does life inspire art? Does your music make you more sassy, or do you just inject your sass into your music?
The music does not make me more sassy. I definitely inject the sass into it. It's life-inspiring art. You're very right. That's the order for me, typically.
Now, I understand you do comedy during your shows. What do you like to talk about? How do you like to break between the tracks, if you will?
Well, I would never presume to be a comedian, because I respect comedians highly, because they plan everything, and I know they're planning the timing, and I know they're excellent writers, but I will absolutely make fun of myself the entire show. I mean, come on. How can you take a trombonist seriously? I chose the trombone because I wanted to fit in. But, like, here I am up there doing very serious music, really. But, like, jazz musicians just take themselves way too seriously. And I like to keep it light. Actually,
speaking of jazz being taken seriously, so for a while now I've been doing a swing show, or what has been called to as from a lot of jazz folks, has been old man jazz. And if you know it, or at least for me, when I go to record shops, swing is always like dirt cheap. But jazz, like proper jazz, like academic jazz now, that you hear on like NPR or something, is always really expensive record-wise.
Okay.
So what are your takes on the different styles of jazz music?
Well, jazz is not a genre nor a style. It is an entire American music history, so that covers a lot of ground. So when you say you're a jazz musician, you absolutely are not saying exactly what it is you're doing. That could mean several different things. So swing is a tradition that comes out of jazz. So is bebop, and so is funk, in fact, and so is even a lot of pop music comes out of jazz. But jazz is too wide of a historical word to even say what it is you're doing, because within jazz there are multiple subgenres, and the genres aren't even all that definable, because I'm a fan of Count Basie, and I'm a fan of Ella Fitzgerald, and I'm a fan of Frank Sinatra, and all of those could even be considered pop in their era. So it's really, really too broad to even say what it is you're doing. I am not cool enough to know what old man jazz is, and I am not cool enough to know what the young millennials like in jazz. I just like what I like, and for me that's pop songs, for me that's old jazz, for me that's new. Snarky Puppy is doing jazz, and they sound nothing like old swing, and yet to me they're both jazz. So I have spoken like a true artist, of course. I have absolutely I'm not the authority on what is jazz. I'm certainly not, and I'm certainly not a purist, as you'll hear tonight at the show.
Now, listening to your latest album, Where the Sunshine is Expensive, it definitely, at least to my ears, has a lot of funk influence, right?
Yes, absolutely. That, you output what you input, and I certainly input, a lot of funk growing up, and I just love it. I listened to Tower of Power and listened to Chicago and listened to Al Jarreau growing up, so as well as the Spice Girls. So, everything counts. And I'm not necessarily consciously writing this. Sometimes I am, but it is just like any child. You expose them to whatever they're exposed to, and they end up mimicking what they're hearing,
The title of the new album, Where the Sunshine is Expensive, it's a play on Los Angeles.
It is. That's my home. My current home is Los Angeles. I'm not from there. I'm from Seattle. But it's all about LA, and it's all about being specifically in the entertainment industry in LA. And that sounds very specific to a certain type of person, but it's truly universal, because I think we've all been in an environment where we feel like we have to fake it a little bit, where we feel like everyone else might be faking it, and yet we can still see the humanity in people. We can still see that everyone's a creature, even though they're putting on a show on the outside. And so that whole album is about that. A lot of it's a joke at first, but then every joke is based on some sort of the truth. So truly, I do see people faking it, because that's the entertainment business, but I also see that they're human beings, just like me. And we're going through all the same things. And isn't it about time somebody just says what we're all thinking?
In LA,
So what was perhaps some of the biggest shocks going from Seattle to Los Angeles?
Well, I did not go from Seattle to Los Angeles. I went from Seattle to Boston to Los Angeles. And I think Boston is a starker difference from Los Angeles than Seattle is, because at least Seattle has that laid-back West Coast vibe, but or at least seemingly. But no, I went from Seattle to Boston, to a very academic city. Very tough city, tough exterior, almost looked down upon glamour, almost look, this is all stereotypical. I don't mean this dogmatically.
It must be those really rough winters.
Right. But then I went to LA, and the difference for me was a positive one. I mean, I fit in more in LA than I did in Boston in a way, because I still am willing to not take myself so seriously. I'm still willing. But truly, that wasn't what struck me the city itself is not what struck me the most. It was my journey in the entertainment world that affected me more so on the inside. Exterior factors don't tend to affect me. I don't know if that's a personality thing or it was the internal stuff and the relational stuff that did more so.
So how would you say your journey through the music industry has changed over the years?
I mean, I started in college doing them in maybe 2007, 2008.
Okay.
But, when I was younger, the biggest change is that I've now learned that being myself is the best possible plan of action. There was a time when, because I am diverse, I do like, I like to play the standard American songbook. I like to write songs. I like to play all across genres. So I have been told by many people, oh, you should stick to this, or you should stick to that, or you should do this only, or you should just play the trombone, or you should just sing, or whatever it is. And when you're young, you want to please everyone. At least I did. And it took the biggest change for me in the entertainment industry was to learn that I am going to displease someone by doing anything. So I might as well do what I think is best, so at least I believe the music, and then those in the entertainment industry and those who are fans will be true fans and true supporters in the industry. That's how I've evolved the most. I went from trying to please everyone, therefore pleasing no one, to finally just being okay with letting people who don't like it they don't have to like it, and then the people who do stick with me forever.
So what in music, or in the music industry, or just in general your projects, makes you truly appreciate it, makes you truly stick around?
It's the fans. It's the live shows. It's meeting people in person in all of the different cities around the world that I get to go to. That's what keeps me going. Because making an album is just something I have to do. Doing a show live in person is something I get to do.
I think your Facebook page refers to album making as solitary confinement or something like that.
Oh yes, no. Solitary confinement was my major in school,
okay.
which I actually prefer. I do like the solitary aspect of music as much as I do like the performance aspect of it, because I do like to create in secret and in alone. I don't create well with others. Does not play well with others. But I do. I do prefer, but either way, being in a live show or creating alone, you're doing something. You're actively writing. You're being creative in both environments. And making an album, to me, that you push record and then you stop pushing record. Oh no, like that's finite to me. Live music is not finite. Practicing alone in the room is not finite. You can always evolve it.
So one of the questions a lot of postgrads typically ask is, was it worth it? So going through an education for music, for trombone, for jazz, what did that add to your ability to make this into your career?
I don't think it's required of anyone to necessarily have a career in music and go to school. There are certain careers that do require school. Doctor, lawyer, for example. Definitely go to school. But music, it presented itself to me. It was just what happened. I got a full ride scholarship. It was too good to turn down. And the best thing that happened to me in that school was meeting everyone, all of my classmates who now I work with to this day. And had I not gone to school, I would have found another way. But it was worth it to me, but it doesn't mean it couldn't have happened a different way. I'm not dogmatic about that at all.
So before we go, are there any other final thoughts, anything else you want to add? Folks should know? Any other sassy comments about life?
Well, of course, I want you to make sure you find me on social media. And if you come to any of the shows, make sure you take a photo of me and post it on the internet, but preferably with one chin. On Instagram, just find me, Aubrey_Logan. And then we can hopefully meet in person someday at a show.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
You have been listening to Recess with Spinelli here on WSPN 91.1 FM, Skidmore Radio, and we've been speaking with the Queen of Sass, Miss Aubrey Logan, a trombonist who is playing at the Martinis above 4th in San Diego, California, and this is for her show, A Very Sassy Christmas.